late Friday night, I broke the news that the soldier of God himself, Yoel Romero, 2000 silver medalist, freestyle wrestling, Sydney Olympics. What do you know about Sydney Olympics? You know nothing about the Sydney
I
Olympics.
was not there at the
Yoel
time.
Romero
I was in college.
is no more. Is no more in
Yeah,
the UFC.
crazy.
Released from the UFC with 3 fights left on his deal. Lest we forget, it's been a crazy year. His last fight was for the belt against Israel Adesanya. A lot of people thought he actually won the fight. It was not a good fight. It was not an entertaining fight, but it was close. And now here he is at 43 out of the UFC. Your reaction to the Yoel Romero release?
I was surprised. I was surprised that Yo's gone. But you know, this is a much different situation than Anderson. There are many people that are going to want Yoel's services, and he's going to be able to go and fight somewhere else. Very surprised though. I didn't expect him to be leaving the UFC, especially right now. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this was a mutual. I don't know. It
Well,
just
let me tell you a little more so you can
okay.
frame your thoughts, okay?
Mhm.
Here's the thing. Number one, to your point that you just made, surprisingly, I'm told Bellator not interested. I'm told PFL not interested. Surprisingly.
Really?
Yes, surprisingly. And so there's Ryzen, there's One, there's KSW. I just hope that Yoel Romero, one of the all-time best wrestlers in the history of the sport, I'll never forget. I'm in Brazil, 2011, UFC 134, Rio de Janeiro, and Captain Eric Albarracin comes up to me and writes the name Yoel Romero on a piece of paper and says, "Hold this paper. This will be one of the best fighters in the history of the sport." Now, he leaves the UFC as one of the best to never win a title, but what a run for the past 7 or so years. I just hope he doesn't end up in like bare knuckle or something like that, because he deserves better. He deserves to be fighting
Yeah.
on his terms for a big promotion. We could talk about Bellator and PFL not being interested right now, but here's the other thing. Yoel Romero, with all due respect to him, is kind of a matchmaker's worst nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Because he has now fought for a belt multiple times, lost multiple times. He's still very good. He's still very dangerous, but you can't put him in there. It reminds me a little bit of John Fitch back in the day, Yushin Okami back in the day. So good, but you're kind of like a blockage at the top of the rankings.
Because you
If
put
you
the young guys in there and you beat
He'll
them.
beat him, right?
Yeah.
More often than not. So I wasn't blown away when I heard the news. And especially, I'd been hearing, as you said, Dana also confirmed this, they're about to cut 60 to 80 guys. And so I think those guys might become expendable. They get paid a little more. They've had their chances. I think we'll start to see more names like Yoel Romero leave the
Well,
UFC.
Dana said that. Dana
Yeah.
goes, some of the names are gonna kind of you're gonna be surprised because those are gonna be the type of guys that we're having to let go. I mean, guys that have become our earned title fights but haven't crossed the hump. Guys that we've been seeing for a long time that have been in the organization for a while. It's just surprising to me that there isn't a line waiting for his services because I mean, Gegard Mousasi or Romero and Bellator
Big
makes
fight.
absolute sense. Like it's a big fight. You can put him in there right away for a title.
But here's the thing.
Very surprising
Bellator has been making a conscious effort as of late
to
to
not
sign
take the
younger.
UFC's guys,
They don't-
especially the older ones, right?
Exactly. They said no to
Scott.
Anderson. They said
Mhm.
no to Paige Van Zandt. Different circumstances, but they don't want to be viewed anymore as the UFC cast-off promotion. And
Yeah,
so, while I think I agree with you. Romero versus Musasi is the best middleweight title fight that they could put on right now. They don't want to be viewed as the place where the UFC cast-offs go, and it's almost like they're a rebuilding sports franchise. Dare I say,
yeah.
a little bit like, I don't know, the Houston Rockets. A
Oh,
team that
shut
is
up.
trying to get
Oh,
rid of some
shut
of the,
up.
they're trying to build. They're trying to build from the ground up as opposed to signing these other guys. The
It makes
Russell
sense.
Westbrooks of the world, and they're trying to do it that way. Here's the one that surprised me: PFL. You just signed 43-year-old Fabricio Verdum. I would say that Romero is better right now, is a bigger draw, is more relevant than Verdum. And yet you're signing Verdum, and right now, I'm as of right this second, not interested in Romero. That surprises me.
I think it'll change. I think it'll change, right? I think a little time needs to pass, but I think he'll end up in one of these organizations. I think they would be smart to have Yoel Romero. I think he never got a hold of the belt. So we don't know how truly fun he could have really been. Could you imagine Romero and his translator as the UFC champion going
Man.
around doing interviews and just going crazy? Sometimes I would look at Yoel and the guy. The guy has this real deep accent, translating the words, and it's like they almost seem unaware that people were like, "Ah, boo." It was just like having the time of their lives. As the champ, I thought it would have been fun. So you don't know if he goes to one of these other promotions, how fun he would be as their champion, because I do believe a major titles in his future, even at 43 years old.
Let us not forget there was a time not that long ago. Yoel Romero was one of the most feared men
Oh,
in MMA, like
but he's still
legit scary.
feared. He's still feared. That's
I
why
know.
you. That's why you got the Adesanya fight in the way that you got it.
Yeah.
Because Izzy understood that too much risk was not worth what he may potentially get to fight Yoel Romero loose. So he fought him a little more tight, and he got the victory. But it ended up being just a very, very bad and slow fight.
You can't fight Costa the way you fight Romero or vice versa,
No,
right? Because of his power.
no,
Because he's got the shorty man, Diddy boxing.
little box.
Diddy
Diddy
boxing.
boxing, and he's
Go.
too explosive because it only
Go.
takes one. Did you remember when he fought my man Luke? That was
Oh,
crazy.
kissed
That
him.
was crazy. I mean,
Kissed him.
even Robert Whitaker, right? As he heard Robert Whitaker so many times, the moment he would hit him, he would just hurt him. So, I mean, you remember the in UFC in San Jose, the jumping knee against Clifford Starks. I
Mm.
mean, a jumping knee, standing in place, just shoots right up, knees the guy in the head, knocks him out. I mean, I got a great friend named Paul Kitsky. The guy told me, every time he'd come to watch me fight, they would go from fight number one. And he left that arena going DC. I watched a young guy from Cuba named Yoel Romero, right? He knew because
Yeah.
he's a wrestling guy. He was
Yeah.
like, you never know who you're going to see on those early prelims
Yeah.
3-4 years down the line. And he saw Yoel knock out Starks in that way, and it just kind of stuck with him. And Yoel Romero is known for those types of highlights.